thought I was a fortress. That's the word I used in my head every single day. A fortress. If you had asked me how careful I was, I would have told you I was a mastermind. I guarded my phone like it held launch codes. I had Face ID activated, but I also used a complex alphanumeric passcode that I changed on the first of every month. I had notifications turned off for all messaging apps. No banners, no sounds, no lock screen previews. When I walked through my front door, my phone went face down on the entryway table, or stayed buried in my purse. I thought I had isolated my affair completely. I built a digital vault. But I forgot that a vault is completely useless if you leave the back door wide open. People think affairs are caught by dramatic, cinematic mistakes. A lipstick stain on a collar, a lingering scent of strange perfume, a friend spotting you at a restaurant downtown. But modern betrayal is rarely that glamorous. It is usually caught by technology, by the silent, invisible ways our devices talk to each other when we aren't paying attention. His name was Marcus. We met at a regional marketing seminar, and the affair escalated with a speed that terrified and thrilled me. For 8 months, I managed the double life flawlessly. I compartmentalized everything. Marcus existed only on my iPhone, and only when I allowed it. Daniel, my husband, was none the wiser. Daniel was a structural engineer. He was methodical, calm, deeply analytical, and incredibly trusting. He lived his life believing that if the foundation was solid, the house wouldn't fall. He respected my privacy because he had absolutely no reason not to. He never asked for my passcode. He never glanced over my shoulder when I was texting. That trust bred a specific kind of arrogance in me. I started to believe I was simply smarter than him, until a Sunday morning in late October. It was raining. A slow, heavy, rhythmic rain. The kind of lazy Sunday where the house smells like roasting coffee and everything feels incredibly safe. Daniel had woken up early to make breakfast. I was sitting at the kitchen island in an oversized sweater, drinking chamomile tea and lazily flipping through a magazine. My phone was safely upstairs on my nightstand. Secured, locked, untouchable. Daniel was making a mushroom and Gruyere frittata. He was moving around the kitchen with his usual quiet efficiency, but he paused at the stove, frowning. He needed to check the exact oven temperature and cook time for the recipe we always used. He didn't have his phone on him. It was charging in the bedroom. So, he reached for the old iPad sitting in the charging dock on the kitchen counter. We bought that iPad 4 years ago during the pandemic. It was essentially a kitchen appliance at this point. We used it to play Spotify playlists while cooking, pull up digital recipes, and occasionally order groceries. I hadn't actively looked at it or used it for personal browsing in years. I had entirely forgotten that when I set it up 4 years ago, I logged in with my primary Apple ID, and I had completely forgotten about the quiet, relentless efficiency of iCloud syncing. Daniel tapped the screen to wake it up. He swiped up to unlock it. There was no passcode. It was just a kitchen tablet. And in that exact, precise microsecond, Marcus sent a text. I didn't hear a chime. The iPad was permanently set to silent so Spotify wouldn't be interrupted by email pings. But from across the marble island, I saw the large screen light up. I saw the sleek gray banner drop down from the top edge. I didn't know what it was yet. But my body reacted before my brain did. The evolutionary part of my brain recognized danger before logic caught up. A cold, heavy rock dropped straight into my stomach. The tea in my mouth suddenly tasted like ash. Daniel stopped. His finger hovered over the glass screen. He didn't tap away to Safari. He didn't open the recipe app. He just stared at the banner. Daniel? I asked. My voice sounded thin, shaky. He didn't answer me. He tapped the banner. The screen instantly transitioned to the Messages app. The app that had been quietly, dutifully downloading every single text, photo, and voice note I had sent and received for the last 8 months in the background. Every time the iPad connected to our home Wi-Fi, it had been updating its archive. Every late-night text I sent from hotel bathrooms. Every digital receipt for weekend getaways I claimed were work retreats. Every cruel complaint I made to Marcus about how boring my marriage was. Archived. Time-stamped. Displayed on a 12-inch retina screen in perfect, undeniable clarity. I stood up. The stool scraped loudly against the floorboards. "What are you looking at?" I asked, walking around the island. My heart was hammering a frantic rhythm against my ribs. I still thought I could fix it. I still thought maybe it was just a spam email notification, a calendar alert. Anything else? Daniel slowly turned the iPad around to face me. There it was. A blue bubble graveyard of my entire double life. The text was large, bold, and damning. The most recent message from Marcus sat at the very bottom of the screen. "Last night was incredible. Thinking about what we did in the shower. Can you get away Tuesday?" I stopped breathing. Literally. The air just evaporated from the room. There was no lie I could invent for this. If it had been a receipt, I could have claimed identity theft. If it had been a rumor, I could have denied it. But there was a photo thumbnail attached to the thread. A photo of me. In Marcus's car. It was an encyclopedia of betrayal. Daniel didn't yell. He didn't slam his hands on the counter. He didn't throw the iPad against the wall. That would have been a human reaction. That would have given me something to push back against. Instead, he just set the iPad back down on the marble counter. Gently. Carefully. Like it was a fragile piece of evidence at a crime scene. "You guarded your phone so well," Daniel said. His voice was hollow. It was stripped of all the warmth, all the love I was so used to hearing. "You guarded it so aggressively, I actually thought you were just setting strict boundaries for your corporate job. I respected it." He looked down at the screen again. He placed one finger on the glass and scrolled up. Just one swipe of his finger. Months of messages flew by. Inside jokes, confessions, plans. "Daniel, please," I whispered. I was openly crying now. The desperate, ugly, hyperventilating tears of someone who has completely run out of track. "Please let me explain. It's not what it looks like." "Don't," he said quietly. He didn't even look up at me. He just kept scrolling, reading my words, absorbing the sheer, monumental scale of the lie. "Don't insult my intelligence, Chloe. I am reading a transcript of you mocking me to another man." I forgot this was synced. I sobbed, gripping the edge of the counter. It was the stupidest, most pathetic thing I could have possibly said. But panic strips away your filters. You just say whatever is true in the moment. Daniel finally stopped scrolling. He looked up, and his eyes were completely dead. The man who had kissed my forehead that morning was gone. "That's the problem with building a house of lies, Chloe," he said, his voice dropping to a terrifyingly calm register. "You have to remember everything. You have to be perfect every single minute of the day. But I don't. I just have to get lucky once. You only had to forget one thing." He turned off the stove. The frittata was abandoned. He walked out of the kitchen. He didn't pack a bag. He didn't scream at me to get out of his house. He just walked down the hall, went into his home office, and quietly locked the solid oak door behind him. I stood in the kitchen entirely alone. The only sound was the rain hitting the windows. After 30 seconds, the iPad screen timed out. It went to sleep, turning pitch black, reflecting my own horrified, tear-stained face back at me in the dark glass. The divorce papers were served 4 days later. Daniel never came back to our bedroom. He stayed in the guest room, packed his essentials, and communicated only through his attorney. When I received the settlement agreement, I saw that he had attached 40 pages of printed screenshots from the iPad as exhibits. There were no arguments, no late-night fights, no couples counseling. Just clinical, undeniable execution. People think affairs are undone by grand detective work. They think it takes a private investigator, a slipped tongue, or a masterclass in manipulation to catch a cheater. But I wasn't undone by a detective. I was undone by an automated software update. By a piece of glass and aluminum I left plugged into a kitchen wall. I built an impenetrable vault for my secrets, and I left the master key sitting right next to the coffee maker.